World War III. For decades, it was the nightmare scenario. Two superpowers, nuclear annihilation, the end of civilization. But the threat never disappeared. It evolved. Today, the world is more dangerous than at any point since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Multiple flashpoints, nuclear-armed adversaries, alliances that would drag dozens of nations into conflict. One miscalculation, one leader's decision, one attack that crosses the line, and we could witness the catastrophe humanity has feared for 80 years. 5 countries sit at the center of potential World War III scenarios. Not because they want war, but because their conflicts involve nuclear weapons, clashing superpowers, and alliances that would turn regional wars into global catastrophes. This is the analysis of where World War III could begin, how it would escalate, and why we're closer to that edge than most people realize. Let's break down the 5 most dangerous flashpoints on Earth. Russia-Ukraine, the war already started. We start with the obvious one. Because World War III might not be coming, it might have already begun. The current war. February 2022. Russia launched the largest military invasion in Europe since World War II. Over 150,000 troops crossed into Ukraine. The goal: topple the government in Kiev, install a puppet regime, and absorb Ukraine back into Russia's sphere of influence, allegedly. It failed spectacularly. Ukraine fought back. President Zelensky stayed. The West poured in weapons, javelins, HIMARS tanks, F-16 fighters, billions of dollars in military aid. 3 years later, Russia has lost over 500,000 soldiers dead or wounded, thousands of tanks destroyed, its economy strangled by sanctions, its military exposed as far weaker than anyone thought. But Russia hasn't quit, and that's the problem. Here's the nightmare scenario. Russia, desperate and losing, makes a catastrophic decision. Scenario 1. Russia attacks a NATO country. A Russian missile strikes Poland. Maybe by accident, maybe on purpose. Poland invokes NATO Article 5, an attack on one is an attack on all. Suddenly, the United States, Britain, France, Germany, all of NATO is at war with Russia. American troops face Russian forces directly. NATO airstrikes hit Russian territory. And Russia has 6,000 nuclear warheads. Putin has already hinted he'd use them if Russia's existence is threatened. Would he launch if NATO tanks roll toward Moscow? Scenario 2. Direct NATO-Russia confrontation. NATO decides to enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine. NATO jets shoot down Russian aircraft. Russia retaliates against NATO bases. We're at war. Scenario 3. Russian collapse and civil war. Putin's regime collapses from military failure and economic devastation. Russia fractures into civil war. Multiple factions, some with nuclear weapons, fight for control. The world faces the terrifying question: who controls Russia's nukes? Do we intervene to secure them? Does China move into Siberia? Does NATO move in? Any intervention risks World War III. The China factor. Russia and China have declared a no-limits partnership. If NATO goes to war with Russia, does China see this as the moment to move on Taiwan while America is distracted? A two-front war, NATO and Europe, the US and the Pacific, that's World War III. Why it might not happen. The West has been careful. No NATO troops in Ukraine. Limited weapons that can't strike deep into Russia. Calibrated escalation. But war is unpredictable. Accidents happen. Leaders miscalculate. And every day the Ukraine war continues, the risk grows. China-Taiwan, the most dangerous place on Earth. If Russia-Ukraine is a slow-burn crisis, China-Taiwan is the powder keg most likely to explode into global war. The stakes. We covered Taiwan's defense challenges in a previous video. But here's the World War III angle. Taiwan isn't just about China and Taiwan. It's about the entire global order. The United States has treaty alliances with Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, military bases across the Pacific, and a commitment implied, if not explicit, to defend Taiwan. Taiwan sits at the choke point of the first island chain. If China takes Taiwan, it breaks into the Pacific. Japan and South Korea are exposed. American naval dominance in Asia collapses. China knows this, America knows this, and that makes Taiwan the most dangerous flashpoint on Earth. China invades Taiwan. Hundreds of thousands of troops cross the Taiwan Strait. The U.S. has hours to decide, intervene or abandon a democratic ally. Scenario 1, America intervenes. American aircraft carriers move into the strait. U.S. submarines sink Chinese amphibious ships. U.S. Air Force strikes Chinese bases. China retaliates against American bases in Japan and Guam. Missiles strike Okinawa. Cyberattacks cripple infrastructure. Japan invokes its mutual defense treaty with the U.S. South Korea gets dragged in. North Korea sees an opportunity. Australia sends forces under ANZUS. Britain and France support under historical alliances. Meanwhile, Russia backs China. Iran opens a second front against U.S. interests in the Middle East. This isn't a regional war, it's a world war. Scenario 2, America doesn't intervene. But what if America decides Taiwan isn't worth World War III? The U.S. stands down. Taiwan falls in weeks. Japan and South Korea lose faith in American security guarantees. They start nuclear weapons programs. China becomes the dominant power in Asia. The American-led order collapses. Russia sees weakness and invades the Baltic states. Iran goes for Saudi Arabia. Every authoritarian regime sees the message: America won't fight. That might not be World War III, but it's the end of the world as we know it. The nuclear dimension. China has over 600 nuclear warheads and growing. America has thousands. Both have second strike capability. If conventional war goes badly for China, would Xi Jinping use tactical nukes against U.S. carrier groups? Would America retaliate against Chinese cities? Would it stop there? No one knows, and that's terrifying. The timeline. U.S. intelligence estimates China wants invasion capability by 2027 to 2030. We're in the danger zone now. The next 5 to 10 years are the most dangerous. Every year the risk grows. North Korea is the wild card, the unpredictable actor that could trigger World War III through sheer recklessness. The Hermit Kingdom's arsenal. North Korea has between 30 and 60 nuclear warheads, ICBMs that can reach the U.S. mainland, shorter-range missiles that can hit South Korea, Japan, and U.S. bases. And a dictator who's shown he's willing to take insane risks, shelling South Korean islands, assassinating his own family members, testing missiles over Japan. Kim Jong-un is not predictable, and that makes him dangerous. North Korea has 10,000 artillery pieces aimed at Seoul, a city of 10 million people 35 miles from the border. Kim decides for whatever reason to launch an all-out attack. Scenario 1, conventional attack spirals. North Korea shells Seoul. Hundreds of thousands die in hours. North Korean troops pour across the DMZ. The U.S. and South Korea retaliate. U.S. bombers strike North Korean positions. South Korean forces push north. North Korea, facing defeat, uses chemical weapons, or worse, tactical nuclear weapons against advancing forces. America faces the decision: respond with nuclear weapons, allow a nuclear-armed regime to win through nuclear blackmail. Scenario 2, North Korea strikes first with nukes. Kim decides to go out in a blaze of glory, launches nuclear missiles at Seoul, at Tokyo, at U.S. bases in Guam. Millions die instantly. America retaliates with overwhelming nuclear force. North Korea is annihilated. But the fallout, literal and political, spreads. China borders North Korea. Does Chinese territory get contaminated? Do Chinese forces move in? American and Chinese forces face off across a radioactive wasteland. One mistake, one trigger-happy soldier, and the two nuclear superpowers are at war. The China-Russia factor. North Korea has mutual defense treaties with both China and Russia. If the U.S. attacks North Korea, are they obligated to respond? China probably wouldn't commit fully, but Russia, already at odds with the West over Ukraine, might see an opportunity to strike. The U.S. fights in Korea while Russia attacks in Europe. NATO splits its focus. China makes a move on Taiwan. Everything cascades. Why, it's unlikely but possible. Kim Jong-un wants to survive. He knows a full-scale war means his regime's end. North Korea's aggression is usually calculated brinkmanship, not suicidal war. But dictators miscalculate. and North Korea's isolation means we don't really know what Kim is thinking. The risk is low, but the consequences are catastrophic. Iran-Israel, the Middle East powder keg. The Middle East has been on the edge for decades, but the Iran-Israel shadow war is the conflict most likely to drag the world into something much bigger. The long Cold War. Iran and Israel have been fighting through proxies for years. Iran backs Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, militias in Syria and Iraq. Israel conducts airstrikes and assassinations to slow Iran's nuclear program and degrade its proxies. It's been a shadow war, but it's getting hotter. The nuclear question. Iran is enriching uranium to near weapons-grade levels. Israel has vowed it will never allow Iran to obtain nuclear weapons. The question isn't if Israel would strike Iranian nuclear sites, it's when. Israel launches a massive airstrike on Iranian nuclear facilities. Hundreds of aircraft, bunker-buster bombs. The goal, set Iran's program back a decade. Scenario 1, Iran retaliates directly. Iran launches ballistic missiles at Israeli cities. Hezbollah fires thousands of rockets from Lebanon. Iranian proxies in Syria and Iraq attack. Israel invokes its special relationship with the United States. America provides missile defense, air support, and intelligence. Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway through which 20% of the world's oil passes. Global oil prices skyrocket. The world economy crashes. The U.S. Navy moves to reopen the strait. Naval clashes with Iranian forces. We're at war. Scenario 2, regional war expands. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, seeing Iran weakened, launch their own strikes. Turkey gets involved to protect interests in Syria. Russia backs Iran to oppose American influence. Suddenly, it's not just Israel versus Iran. It's a regional war with multiple powers, alliances, and proxy forces fighting across the Middle East. Oil production collapses. Energy crisis hits the global economy. China and Europe, desperate for energy, pressure for intervention. Scenario 3, Iran gets the bomb. But what if Israel doesn't strike in time? Iran successfully tests a nuclear weapon. Saudi Arabia immediately pursues nukes. Turkey follows. Egypt considers it. The Middle East becomes the most nuclear-armed region on Earth. And every terrorist group with ties to Iran suddenly operates under a nuclear umbrella. The risk of nuclear terrorism skyrockets. The superpower angle. The Middle East is where superpower interests collide. America backs Israel and Saudi Arabia. Russia backs Iran and Syria. China needs Middle Eastern oil. An Iran-Israel war wouldn't stay regional. American forces would engage Russian-backed Iranian forces. Would Russia strike American positions in Syria or Iraq? Would China, needing stability for oil imports, intervene diplomatically or militarily? The Middle East has dragged great powers into war before. It could do it again. India-Pakistan, the forgotten nuclear flashpoint. Most people forget about India and Pakistan. But this is the only place on Earth where two nuclear-armed enemies have fought wars in the last 30 years. The history of conflict. India and Pakistan have hated each other since the bloody partition in 1947. Millions died in religious violence. 3 major wars followed. The fight is over Kashmir, a disputed region both claim. Pakistan supports insurgents. India cracks down. Terrorist attacks lead to military crises. In 2019, after a terrorist attack, India launched airstrikes into Pakistan. Pakistan shot down an Indian jet. Both sides mobilized for war. They pulled back from the edge that time. The nuclear dimension. India has about 170 nuclear warheads. Pakistan has about 170. Both have delivery systems, missiles, aircraft, possibly submarine-launched. India has a no-first-use policy. Pakistan does not. Pakistan has said it would use nukes if facing overwhelming conventional defeat. That's terrifying, because India's conventional military is much stronger. A major terrorist attack in India, another Mumbai-style assault. Hundreds dead. Evidence links to Pakistan-based groups. India's government, under domestic pressure, launches a limited military strike into Pakistan. Not occupation, just punitive raids. Scenario 1, conventional war spirals. Pakistan responds with full military force. Tank battles in Punjab, air combat over Kashmir, artillery duels across the line of control. India's superior military pushes deep into Pakistani territory. Pakistan faces the choice: accept humiliating defeat or escalate. Pakistan uses a tactical nuclear weapon against Indian forces on Pakistani soil. Not targeting cities, just military formations. India must respond. Do they use nukes against Pakistani military, against cities, or do they hold back and appear weak? If India retaliates with nukes, Pakistan launches everything it has. India responds. Within hours, dozens of nuclear weapons detonate across South Asia. Millions dead instantly. Nuclear winter affects global climate. Radiation spreads across the region. The world's two most populous nations, India and China, are neighbors, deal with fallout. The China factor. China and Pakistan are close allies. China provides military support. If India invades Pakistan, does China intervene to support its ally? India suddenly faces war on two fronts, Pakistan and China. This is India's nightmare scenario. The US, seeing China involved, backs India. Russia, with historical ties to India but growing ties to China, tries to stay neutral but gets pressured. Alliances activate. A South Asian nuclear war becomes a superpower confrontation. Why it's contained so far? Both India and Pakistan know nuclear war would be suicidal. International pressure, especially from the US and China, has kept them from full war. But terrorist attacks keep happening, tensions never truly ease, and one day the restraint might fail. There are other places where World War III could start, less likely but worth mentioning. Serbia-Kosovo. The Balkans never fully healed from the 1990s. Serbia and Kosovo still have tensions. Russia backs Serbia, NATO backs Kosovo. A crisis here could drag in both sides. South China Sea. China claims almost the entire South China Sea. The Philippines, Vietnam, and others dispute this. The US Navy patrols to keep waters open. A naval collision, a miscalculation. China sinks a Philippi. Knee ship. The US intervenes under mutual defense treaties. Less likely than Taiwan, but the waters are crowded. Arctic. Climate change is opening the Arctic. Russia, the US, and others are competing for resources and routes. A frontier dispute, military presence. It's a long shot, but the Arctic could become the next geopolitical battleground. Conclusion, living on the edge. 5 flashpoints. Russia-Ukraine, China-Taiwan, North Korea, Iran-Israel, and India-Pakistan. Each one a potential spark for World War III. The decisions rest with a handful of people. Putin, Xi, Kim, Trump, Modi, Netanyahu. Leaders who control armies, economies, and nuclear arsenals. World War I started because of a single assassination. World War II because of one dictator's ambitions. World War III could start just as quickly and with far deadlier consequences. The difference now? Nuclear weapons. The first 2 world wars killed tens of millions. The third could kill billions. But it's not inevitable. Diplomacy works. Treaties matter. Leaders, despite tensions, understand the stakes. The question is whether we can keep walking the tightrope, whether cooler heads will prevail, whether we can manage these flashpoints before one ignites into something unstoppable. Right now, we're living through the most dangerous period since the Cold War. Multiple nuclear powers, regional conflicts, alliances pulling the world into opposing camps. We've avoided World War III for 80 years, through luck, wisdom, and fear of the consequences. The hope is we can avoid it for 80 more. The reality is it only takes one miscalculation, one attack, one leader who decides the risk is worth it. Which flashpoint do you think is most dangerous? Do you think we'll see World War III in our lifetime? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and let's hope we never have to make a video titled How World War III Started. And if you want to understand the geopolitical forces shaping our world, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We cover the conflicts, strategies, and power struggles that determine the future.